Right, let's jump straight into this explainer. We're going to completely challenge what you think you know about that glass of water sitting right next to you. You know, we use it every single day, but honestly, we rarely stop to think about the absolutely wild, mind-boggling journey it's been on.
Think about your morning routine for a sec. You brushed your teeth, right? But did you ever stop and wonder exactly how old that tap water actually is? Because, well, we all kind of just assume the water flowing out of our faucets is brand new, fresh out of the factory. Now, sure, some of that water might have just fallen from the sky yesterday, or maybe last week, which technically makes it new to the surface. But actually, scratch that. That's really only a tiny, tiny fraction of the whole story. It definitely isn't fresh out of its diapers, that's for sure.
Here's the mind-bending truth. Because there is a totally fixed, limited amount of water on Earth, a lot of it is absolutely ancient. Like, literally ancient. We're talking about the exact same water that T-Rexes slurped up millions of years ago, or that pharaohs drank while building the pyramids. No joke. There's no space water delivery service dropping off fresh batches. It literally just keeps going round and round.
But before we get into the nuts and bolts of how this massive recycling system works, let's set the stakes. Picture an empty, completely dried up pond filled with some really unhappy fish. Or imagine your favorite ocean beach looking as hot and cracked as a desert. Without nature's ultimate recycling program, that barren wasteland, yeah, that would be our daily reality.
And this hits close to home for all of us. Since we humans are mostly made up of water, you'd be a heck of a lot lighter and, well, effectively non-existent without it. We literally rely on this entire system just to survive.
So, how exactly does nature pull off this infinite recycling trick? It does it through 4 elegant steps that make up the water cycle: evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and collection. Let's break them down.
Starting off with Step 1, evaporation.
Basically, the sun acts like a giant heater. When it warms up an ocean, a lake, a river, or even just a tiny stream, that liquid turns into an invisible vapor or steam. And then, defying gravity, that moisture just naturally floats right up into the air.
But hey, it's not just the massive oceans doing all the heavy lifting here. The water cycle pulls from some pretty surprising sources right in our backyards. We're talking human sweat, the morning dew on tree leaves, and even the dew resting quietly on your front lawn.
So whether it's you dripping with sweat after a heavy workout, or just a tiny leaf holding onto a pristine drop of water in the morning sun, it all counts. It all evaporates upward and joins the cycle. You are quite literally contributing to the Earth's weather system every single time you work up a sweat. How cool is that?
Which brings us to Step 2, condensation.
Once all that water vapor gets super high up in the atmosphere, it cools down and transforms back into a liquid state. It essentially bunches all together to form those big, fluffy clouds we see drifting above us. It's almost like nature is gathering up all those scattered puzzle pieces and putting them back in one place.
Moving right along to Step 3, precipitation.
Think of clouds as giant floating sponges. When the air inside them just can't hold a single drop more, like when they are totally heavy and saturated, well, what goes up must come down. It all has to fall back to the ground. Now, depending on the temperature up there and exactly where it lands, water returns to us in a few different pretty energetic ways. The one we're almost familiar with, of course, is just standard rain.
But if it's really cold out, it falls as snow. And here's a fun little fact for you. No 2 snowflakes are ever exactly the same. Each and every one is a totally unique creation of nature. It's pretty amazing.
Sometimes, though, it comes back down as sleet. Sleet is essentially just rain that's almost completely frozen on its way down to the surface. It creates this slushy, icy mix that, as you can imagine, makes navigating mountain terrains quite the adventure for our animal friends.
And then, in the most extreme cases, we get hail. These are heavy, totally frozen balls of ice. And make no mistake, hail definitely has a forceful side. It can literally fall hard enough to shatter glass windows and leave massive dents in cars. Not something you want to be caught out in.
And finally, we hit Step 4, collection. No matter how it falls, all that water has to be collected and stored. Whether it lands right back in the ocean, rolls off the ground into a rushing river, or gets sucked deep down into the soil to fill up a massive underground lake, it is safely stashed away for later.
But you know what the absolutely most beautiful part of this whole system is? It's what happens tomorrow. As soon as that sun comes out again, the entire cycle instantly starts all over from the very beginning. It's just a perpetual, infinite loop. In fact, this loop is so incredibly powerful that even our trusty guide here, Professor Moist Terray, eventually has to evaporate back up into the sky to keep the whole thing going. I mean, he's made of water too, right?
So next time you head to the kitchen to pour yourself a nice cold glass of water, I want you to ask yourself, just how many millions of years has this exact drop been traveling around the Earth? When you take that next sip, are you going to taste the dinosaur history? Just a little something to think about.